Hi, how's everybody doing? So, in this webinar, we are going to look at the receptive skills procedure, but not so much at the theory, which we already discussed in a previous webinar. We're going to look at how it maps out in a textbook sequence. Now, you know my philosophy about textbooks. They're not necessarily the best thing on earth, but I think it's a good idea to understand the rationale, why they're written the way they're written, because many of us are going to end up using them. And even if we don't, there's a lot of sort of a sound EFL theory behind them. So it's good to understand how they are written. Now, in this case, we are going to look at the same textbook pages we have been looking at in TEFL 2. We're looking at Macmillan High 5, Year 5, Unit 1 textbook. And now we have a page, lesson 6 is entitled Reading. We do have a text. So what we're going to do is identify the pre, the while, and the post, and make some comments about it. Now, let's begin, as always, let's begin with the while. So we have a text which is quite ambitious, quite extensive, as you see here. We should have some reading tasks. Do we have some reading tasks? Well, yes, we can identify task number 3. What do you think? The text is about different materials. Which material is the most amazing and why? Which material is the most useful and why? Students have to use the information found in the text. So you might want to describe the reading here as reading for specific information. Not only that, but if you look at exercise 2, students have to read and check or confirm the predictions that they made by looking at the title. Now, if you're going to work with written texts, because remember, receptive skills procedure is also valid for oral text. If you're going to work with printed materials, then often it's a really good idea to get the students to make guesses, speculate, hypothesize based on photos or titles or headlines or whatever. So this is what we're doing here. Remember, we are activating students' schemata, and we're sort of supporting a more top-down reading strategy. So this would be the while. Can we identify a pre-reading stage? Well, yes, we can. We do have a speaking task here, which could be done in pairs and groups or a whole class, with more speaking about what topics we enjoy reading. Now here the pre-teach is quite interesting because the way it's conducted is through a sort of a picture glossary. So you can safely assume that the terms here, sticky, stretchy, chemical, stain, etc., are essential words for understanding the text, and they will be required by the tasks. And as we saw in the last webinar, this is the idea behind pre-teach. It's those words that we need to teach so that the readers can focus on doing the tasks and not be bogged down by the vocabulary. Okay, so we do have an interesting pre-teach here. Now at the bottom of the page, they tell us to go to page 11 in the activity book. Let's take a look at that. And it's interesting what we get here. Now, if you remember the receptive skills procedure, after the extensive and intensive reading tasks, we have a language focus. So it's, using the text, it's an opportunity to do language work. It's not the main objective of the class, but it's something useful we can do where we have language that is nicely contextualized. Okay, let's see if we have that. We do. So exercise 1, we have some vocabulary work. Exercise 2, we also have some vocabulary work. Now notice exercise 3 and exercise 4. This is what in the receptive skills procedure we called a skills integration, right? Or productive skills work. The task would be exercise 4. Students have to design an advert for one of the materials in the notebook. And exercise 3 is sort of is a preparation task. It's a listening where students get exposed to the genre. It's what we call a genre awareness task. So it's kind of neat to see how using the workbook and using the activity book, students kind of follow through the receptive skills procedure, which in many ways was designed for older learners. Now let me show you an example in a textbook designed for adults. This is an old book, New Headway, Upper Intermediate. And if you want to see the receptive skills procedure sort of nicely mapped out in a very structured way, you could look at this. Okay, so we have a text, which is it's a long text because it's upper intermediate, and students are supposed to do jigsaw reading. So student A reads one, student B looks another one, and here in 1 hour, 1.5 hours, you're gonna get everything. Okay, so you're gonna get the pre with lots of speaking. You're going to get some prediction making, vocabulary thrown in. This is where the teacher will do the pre-teach. You're going to get quite ambitious reading tasks, obviously, because we're looking at a higher level. Some checking in pairs, comparing, sharing information, and look at how the language work is integrated here. Okay, so we don't tell the students to look at the workbook. The language work is here. Okay, in this case, we're looking at different expressions, different idiomatic expressions, with speaking at the end of the class. So, as a summary, if you want to see the receptive skills procedure, in a tightly knit, structured way, then usually you're going to get it in a textbook for older learners, like people like you, students, intermediate, upper intermediate, etc. But it's interesting to see how most contemporary textbooks for primary students also follow the pre, the while, and the post reading structure in many ways. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in class. Thank you.